It's been about 6 months since AEW opened up shop, and I thought I would do a pros and cons video on AEW. I would dissect the good things about it and the bad things about it. So we're going to start off with the pros. The pros, they have a solid roster. I like their roster. They have Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, Young Bucks, the Lucha Brothers, and the SCU. They also have a lot of other guys I've seen from Ring of Honor, TNA, Lucha Underground, New Japan. So they have a nice mixture of talent from those promotions on their roster. And I think it's a good one if you follow those brands. Now, get into where if you don't follow those companies, what your thoughts on the roster might be. But so far, A plus on their roster, man. They need to keep it up. They just brought in Dean Ambrose, Luke Harper, Lance Archer. Getting some great pickups as of lately, so solid roster as a pro. Another one is they're backed by financial resources. Tony Khan is a co-founder of AEW, along with his father Sahid Khan. They're a billionaire family. And there's one thing that a major wrestling company hasn't had as of lately, since WCW in the 90s, was backed by a billionaire. You have TNA, Ring of Honor. Their companies are right, but not as big as what WCW was, because they were not backed by a person has a lot of money. They stay in business by making deals, and they stay in business by making deals with other companies, cash transfusions, selling the company, selling some stocks around. That's what they did. But AEW, first time in 20 years, they have someone who has a lot of money that has backed their company. They're also air on TNT, which is one of the largest networks on cable. This is able to help them grow their audience to a larger part of the country. TNA, they run Spike TV. That was the last major wrestling company to have a major deal. Ever since they left Spike TV, TNA really hasn't had a lot of viewership. They got like 200,000 300,000 viewers on Destination American Pop TV. As compared to Spike TV, they got around 1 million. So at AEW, they also have a chance to get around 1 million. TNT is backed by Time Warner and Warner Media, which has allowed AEW to have access to Bleacher Report Live for their pay-per-views, and they air overseas on ITV. So they're backed by a lot of major financial resources. Another A+, another pro for them. So Tony Khan, AEW, as of right now, they're making the right moves. Another pro is Cody Rhodes. I like Cody Rhodes. In WWE, he was okay. But when he left, man, I just saw a different side of him, a better side of him. He made a few appearances in TNA. He beat Jay Lethal at Ring of Honor Final Battle. Won the Ring of Honor World Title. Won a 6-man Tag Team Championship there. He won the NWA World Title, the IWGP US Title. He was a member of the Bullet Club. He's made a few appearances on the TV show Arrow. He's done a lot of work outside the WWE. And AEW is his latest project. He sold out a 10,000-seat arena in Chicago at a pay-per-view called All In. Now he's starting his own company. And I like that. Congratulations to Cody Rhodes. A lot of respect to him. He's really showing that you can have a career outside of the WWE. And I wish him the best of luck. Then we're going to the cons. The Tony Cons. Pun intended. They have quarterly pay-per-views, which means they have pay-per-views every 3 to 4 months. Now, WWE used to do this back in the early 90s. They had 5 pay-per-views every 2 to 3 months. They had WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and King of the Ring. And I enjoyed those, because it allows more time for you to build storylines and invest in the talent that you have. But that only works if your roster is established, which WWE did. They had Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Yokozuna, Undertaker, Money Incorporated, Jerry Lawler. They had a lot of established people. Unlike AEW, even though I like their roster, it's not an established roster. If you don't have an established roster, it's very hard to do only like 4 pay-per-views a year. Why? Because there's not a lot of spots for people. There's limited spots. So that means it's only a limited amount of people who are going to be able to showcase their skills. And since your roster's not really that established, you're going to have some downtime between pay-per-views because you have to work really hard on establishing people. My advice to AEW is I think they should do the 12 pay-per-view a month model. Allows you to build more talent, allows you to create more spots for them. You're on the clock. You're also creating more storylines and personalities and characters. You're really trying to sell that to your audience. So, or maybe they can to still do 4 pay-per-views a month. They can just do monthly specials when there's not a pay-per-view. TNA did that back in 2013. They shifted to 4 pay-per-views a month, and between those months they didn't have pay-per-view. They had TV specials, and those TV specials were named after pay-per-view names, and they had pay-per-view quality feel to it. It was awesome. But to me, they need more pay-per-views / special events. They had Bash at the Beach earlier this year. We have Blood and Guts coming up soon. So they're kind of making some improvements on that. Another con is no mainstream talent. And this is also another problem that AEW faces. A lot of the guys come from TNA, Ring of Honor, New Japan, indie independents. And the problem is not a lot of people follow those companies. They get like 100,000 viewers. So if you're trying to sell AEW to the mainstream audience, you need mainstream talent. A lot of these guys aren't mainstream. Adam Page. Who out there knows who Adam Page is? Not many, unless you follow Ring of Honor. Not many people do. Who's Brandon Cutler? Who's Chuck Taylor? Who's SEMA? Jimmy Havoc. Who's Jimmy Havoc? He's big over the United Kingdom, but how many people watch the United Kingdom independent scene? Who's Joey Janela? Frankie Kazarian. He's a big guy from TNA, but he was in TNA a long time ago, and TNA has really changed. They don't get the viewership that they used to. They get like 10,000 viewers on Twitch. A lot of these guys are people that the mainstream audience, which is people that mainly watch WWE, they won't know who these guys are. And like I said, if you're having 4 pay-per-views a month, using talent that no one knows, it's kind of hard to sell these to a larger audience. So to me, AEW, they need more mainstream talent. Either you get some from WWE, which they have a few, or you build some, which is kind of tough to do with not a lot of major talent. The biggest issue that AEW has, which has prevented them from creating mainstream stars, is they have very few storylines. Now, all of their main guys are involved in the storyline. Cody Rhodes, he's doing something. Jon Moxley, he's the AEW World Champion. The Inner Circle, they're feuding with Matt Hardy. Kenny Omega, Heyman Page, they're tag team champions, so they're obviously doing something, but everyone else, not really. Joey Janela, you have Shawn Spears, Darby Allin, Jimmy Havoc, which make up their mid-card. And I think it's a good mid-card scene. The problem is they're not doing anything with these guys. They're not doing anything. There's no storylines, there's no feuds, there's no nothing. Hopefully the TNT title will help, but I don't know. Same thing with the women's division. No storylines down there. No feuds, no plots, no angles. No star power. They have this power ranking system, but to me it means nothing unless if I know who these guys are. And a lot of the guys that AEW has in their roster, I don't know who they are. That's a problem. So if you're not creating storylines for these people, then these guys won't become mainstream talent. And it's also going to be very hard for you to sell your 4 pay-per-views if there's no storylines. They're a sports directive product. They just throw the show up with matches just to have matches. Now, I like seeing good wrestling matches, but at the same time, I want to see story lines and characters, which is what built this business. If they think that this model is going to keep them in business for 20 years, then I think they're wrong. Eventually, they're going to have to change their formula and start creating more storylines. I know they've only been in business for about 6 months, but we'll see. Yeah. I always said I wanted wrestling to be more sports-like, but I don't want it to be all sport. Alright, I still want storylines. I still want characters, personalities. I don't want you catering to the smarks out there. Wrestling's just dead, man, as a whole. Ring of Honor, WWE, Impact, and now AEW and parts of NXT, they all focus way too much on wrestling. And not enough on creating characters. That's what they should do. That's how you're going to build stars. Another con is Cody Rhodes' mindset. And you do have to question his mindset here. Why is he doing AEW? He said that he wants to do AEW to change the world. That's his mindset. Is that really his mindset? Or is it because he wants to get back at Vince? And here are some examples. Below are a few promoters that had the same mindset as his. You had Ted Turner, who founded WCW along with Eric Bischoff. They founded WCW because they wanted to revolutionize Monday nights, the Monday Night Wars. And for a while, the fans believed it. They were beating WWE in the ratings for 83 weeks. But eventually, they lied to their fan base and alienated them. Eventually, this was all of a sudden putting Vince out of business. And the quality of their product deteriorated. A lot of their previous stars went back to WWE. They had the whole finger poke of doom thing with Hulk Hogan, NWO. They put the title on Vince Russo. And in WWE, they were creating Stone Cold Steve Austin, the Attitude Era, and fans started becoming more loyal to WWE. And Paul Heyman founded ECW. He wanted to change the wrestling industry, give it a new tone, more hardcore, more violence. And fans believe it. But Paul Heyman, he also wanted to put Vince out of business. But that was never going to happen because ECW was always in small arenas. They barely had any money. They had financial troubles. So Vince just bought Heyman out. They even had some of the ECW guys appear on Raw. Vince even signed some guys and sent them to ECW just to help them out. Jeff Jarrett founded TNA. He didn't want WWE to be the only show on national television, so he created TNA, an alternative. The fans believe that as well. TNA, they had their time in the spotlight, but once they brought in Dixie Carter, this was not about just being an alternative. It was about being number one. And TNA did not have the resources being number one. They spent all their money on bringing in Hogan, Flair, and Bischoff. They spent a lot of money on those guys and didn't have enough money to pay their current talent. When their deals left, they left TNA. And that left TNA with not a good roster. It became a shell of what it was. They pretty much had like a skeleton crew left. Instead of having your first stringers and your primary talent, they were left with their third stringers and their practice squad. Even some of those people were leaving. So Cody Rhodes, I hope he's really trying to change the world. I want to believe that. But at the same time, I think he's just trying to get back at Vince. He's taking shots at WWE left and right, even though he said he wouldn't. I don't mind you taking shots at WWE to Wednesday Night War. Use it to your advantage. But if you say you're not going to take shots, don't take shots. Makes you look like a hypocrite. You said you weren't going to poach WWE talent. You're going to build your own stars. But you're bringing in a lot of guys from WWE as it is already. You're from WWE. Jericho's from WWE. Brody Lee, John Moxley, Shawn Spears, Kenny Omega. the Young Bucks, Pac, Billy Gunn, Dean Malenko, Jim Ross. You have a lot of those are all those guys from WWE. You have a lot of them on your roster. And I just don't want you bringing in more. Because it's going to take up a space from your current roster, which you haven't built up. The only star that you've built up is MJF. That's because MJF is feeding with you, Cody. And look at their ratings. They opened up with 1.4 million viewers. That's a big deal. But what are their ratings now? 700,000? It tells me that they've lost half their audience. It tells me that they have not created a new audience, which is what you need to do if you want to be competition to WWE. You can't change the world with 700,000 viewers. It's not going to convince the masses out there. AEW to me is just an alternative. They're producing good shows, but I don't see them as competition. Now you look at Triple H, who's running NXT on the same time slot as your brand. He's being really generous about AEW. He's getting his butt handed him the ratings. He's not taking shots at AEW on there. He's doing business as usual. Some people are saying that WWE is worried about AEW, but to me they're not. So if they were worried about AEW, they would have killed them before they got started. Triple H would have made NXT go outside of full slip. We would have put Roman Reigns down there. Put AJ Styles, Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins. He would have brought all the big guns on the main roster and put them on NXT. He even himself may be even competing in the ring if he wanted to kill AEW. So they've been traveling to different cities and bigger venues. But they're not. They're being generous. To me, Triple H, I don't think he considers this as a war, and I don't think he really should. NXT's not going out of business. Same thing with WWE. Raw and SmackDown still lead AEW in the ratings by more than 1 million. And if AEW can get their viewership back up to 1 million and grow it up to 1.3, 1.5, 1.7, and edge WWE at 2 million, then we talk about them being competition. My biggest challenge for AEW is what's AEW going to be like when all the elite guys are gone? Who's going to carry the float? Who's going to hold down the fort? Triple H would love to have Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks in NXT. Vince would love to have Chris Jericho and Goldust back in the Hall of Fame. What's going to happen then? This company can stay afloat for 20 years. Congratulations, AEW, but if this company is just for Cody Rhodes to stick it to Vince and the fans find out about this and the product deteriorates, that's not going to go well for you. You're going to end up at Vince's graveyard like the other promoters you see right next to you. Just a bunch of American business moguls who had out for Vince, but they couldn't get the job done. As far as my thoughts on AEW, they're producing good shows. I'll give them an 8 out of 10 average. A lot of the issues that I've stated are getting better. And 6 months from now in October, we'll see where they're at. Same thing with a year from now. But, AEW is just concerned. I don't hate them. I don't despise them. I'm not a smart. I'm the level 10 smart, but, I don't hate them. I'm not overly positive. I just wish them the best of luck. This has been your pros and cons of AEW.